I'd like to call the November 7th Bristol, Virginia School Board meeting to order. If you would stand, let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, I'll be stopping the up and down. All right, item 1B, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, item 2A, school board student representative report.
On October 26th, a group of the students from Virginia High School attended Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin's speech and economic policy.
That sounds better.
On October 26th, a group of students from Virginia High School attended Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin's speech about economic policy in Southwest Virginia. Governor Youngkin encouraged the students to introduce themselves to the business leaders and college representatives who were there in the room.
On October 27th, a few of us were fortunate to visit Bristol, Virginia public schools. We got to talk to a few teachers about how they felt about the school, about the school semester. We wanted to especially thank Ms. Tallman for giving us a wonderful tour. What does that say? What is it? Oh, and valuable information.
Right off the bat, we noticed that all 4 of the elementary schools have a safe entryway. We especially liked the different light options each school had. It made the environment more peaceful, and it made it calmer. Each school has a great reward program set up for kids that have shown progress over each semester.
A problem we saw at Van Pelt that there's not a proper playground. Students and a few faculty member believe that a playground is essential to the true elementary experience. The main concern that all teachers are seeing is the lack of progress that students are making. A teacher at Highland View claimed that her second grade students are on a kindergarten level. To solve this, teachers are asking for more time and resources.
At the middle school, Mr. Matlock seems to be handling everything well at the middle school. We had the chance to talk to a few of the students at the middle school, and they seem to love their experience. Virginia High School is doing great. The majority of their students are getting back into a normal routine. I cannot see that. All right. There is also more student engagement in all clubs and activities Virginia High has to offer.
I can't read that. No. You want to read it? I can't read it.
A lot of students and faculty members have concerns about how the classrooms and bathrooms are being cleaned. Students claim that some bathrooms do not even have working soap dispensers. For a long period of time, 2 of 3 of stalls were working in the cosmetology bathroom. Teachers strongly believe that classrooms do not get properly sterilized and clean when they are expected to be.
Just to add to that last slide, it's custodial staffing shortages have left our bathrooms in conditions that are less than ideal or sanitary, and we are hoping to see an improvement in that department. I think our students, or everyone, is deserving of a place that is clean and sanitary. Just entering, you can just, it just doesn't feel very clean. And like, just to circle back to what I said, it's due to a custodial staffing shortage there just seems to not be enough janitors to really be able to help out everywhere around the school. Not even just in the bathrooms, but in the classrooms in general. There's just not enough staff to really handle that amount of like classrooms or areas.
All right, overall, the schools seem to be doing pretty well. The students seem happy and concentrated, especially this semester. Teachers are trying their hardest to make their students as comfortable as possible by having creative classrooms and using creative teaching techniques.
Thank you, guys. Any comments or questions about what they might have found or?
I'll just
Brianne?
thank you all for your report and echo some of those concerns that I also heard recently when I was at the schools. The playground equipment at Van Pelt was one of them, as well as the whatever happened with the playground equipment when it was moved this summer. And as well, I have heard and brought concerns about the cleanliness of the bathrooms, not the classrooms, but the bathrooms and the soap dispensers. So thank you.
Thank you all.
What's up with the playground?
So we had to move some of the playground equipment for the new school construction. We hoped that we were going to be able to salvage some of that, but it was so old that as the contractors were taking it out of the ground, it just wasn't reusable. So we have purchased a couple of items for the pre-K area to make sure they have adequate equipment. And I've given Mr. Rader the directive to find some temporary playground equipment that we can use to replace that until we bring in new playground equipment that'll be in conjunction with opening of the new school. Mr. Rader is also going to be talking to his faculty about that to make sure that he understands, you know, we have a lot of playground equipment there, but it may not be for all the right grade levels, and there may be some sharing. So Mr. Rader is also going to get some feedback from his staff to see exactly what it is that we need to do in the interim.
Thank you all for your report. There's some definitely items there that we need to look at and get on to, so I appreciate that.
On one note, part of that will, on Monday, we should see a marked improvement in our bathrooms. We'll be opening up the new bathrooms at Virginia High School on Monday, and then we'll also be, obviously, the remaining bathrooms, we're going to start doing some minor renovations on those to get those up to snuff, whether it's replacing stall doors or adding soap dispensers where needed, that kind of thing. But we are excited about opening the new restrooms on Monday.
All right, item 2B, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Perigin.
All right, so that's wrong picture, Stephanie. You have received already the weekly report. I did add it to this agenda so folks had easy access to see the weekly report on construction at the new intermediate school. As you can see from the last time that we've talked, a lot of progress is being made. The large walls on the back side, which that is, you're looking at the cafeteria / music area where the high walls are there. You'll notice the floor that has been poured already. That's where the gymnasium is. And actually, if you'll go on to the next picture, you'll see that, you'll see that the walls for the entire upper grade level wing, the outside walls have been built. They're going to be starting to work on the far right. You'll see the level area there. They'll be putting all those piles of gravel on that level area this week with paving either to occur at the end of this week or early next week, and that'll be our new parking for the new intermediate school. So as you can see, a lot of progress is being made as far as holdups. They're still dealing with some rock on the entry road. They're not as far as long there as they'd like to be. They're going to be bringing in some new equipment either later this week or early next week to address that. But if you've driven by there, you've probably seen that one seam or that wall of rock that's there that's kind of holding them up on the entryway. But really good progress there. And if you want more information, you can go to our website. We actually have a link to where we provide the weekly updates, or this most recent weekly update is there on this agenda. I wanted to touch base before Stephanie goes on to that next picture. We did have some visitors in the city of Bristol a couple weeks ago. Governor Youngkin came to the train station and invited some of our students to come over and spend some time with him. I thought he really did a great job of interacting with the kids and really personalized his speech. brought it right down to the Virginia high level. He was quoting scores and future opponents in football and really challenged our students. So I thought that was cool. And then later, they also, the students were at Van Pelt, and we had several secretaries that were there at Van Pelt. And you guys, some of you guys were there and saw the amazing presentation that our staff at Van Pelt put on. And we were really thrilled to share that with local leaders from Richmond. But also then, last week, I was invited to go to Washington, D.C., and was actually in the White House. If you don't believe me, there it is. I was about on the third row, sitting right in front of President Biden's teleprompter. He was a little frustrated with me because my head was in the way, and I had to kind of keep dodging. But really, I'm saying it was quite an honor to be able to do that. But Stephanie, if you go on to the next picture, this is what really caught my attention. I was there for the Infrastructure Talent Pipeline Challenge. And the White House encouraged folks from all over the nation to submit proposals about how you can improve the talent pipeline as far as infrastructure goes with the new, the infrastructure bill that was approved last year. There were 6 projects that were approved for presentation at the White House. 2 of those 6 dealt with virtual reality training. And as you can see here, this is a fellow, and that's a very famous painting. I think it's kind of funny that he is there with a virtual reality spray paint wand that he's painting a block wall right below that beautiful painting using virtual reality. The other one was a welding simulation. I say all that to get to this point. I think we're really on the right track with what we're doing with virtual reality. It's not going to save the world or anything like that, but I think a lot of training in the future will be embedded with virtual reality, and so I'm glad that Bristol, Virginia Public Schools is leading the way on that. And Mr. Chairman, I will just end my portion of the superintendent's report in inviting all of you, everybody in the audience, everybody on the board, to our Veterans Day ceremony, especially you, Mr. Goodpasture. We appreciate your service and hope you can maybe attend, but the middle school does a great job with this every year. This, I believe, is the first time that we've done this since pre-COVID. Is that right, Mr. Matlock? So we're excited about that. It's a great opportunity, to teach our kids about the sacrifice that our veterans have made, but also to, bring some patriotism into the curriculum as well. So we're really excited. If you can attend, we'd love to have you. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. While I have never attended the Veterans Day at the middle school, because it's always before we leave to go to Williamsburg, and my days off are numbered, but it is an excellent program from all the feedback that I've gotten. It's a marvelous program. So thank you for what y'all do down there at the middle school with that. All right, item 3, public comment. I don't have any cards. Anybody have anything they'd like to say? All right. Number 4 is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Austin?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Number 5, action items. 5A is approval of employee bonus.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As I think everybody knows, in the most recent biennial budget, the General Assembly approved a $1,000 one-time bonus for all SOQ-funded positions. I think at least everybody on this board knows that covers about half of our employees. So even though we were thrilled about the opportunity, we had a little bit of heartburn about how we were going to make that work because over half of our employees don't fall under that category. However, by looking at some of our lottery funds that are available through the state and some local funds, Ms. Jones and her team were able to put together a proposal that will give all full-time employees a $1,000 bonus and all part-time employees a $500 bonus. That'll be paid for through 3 different funds, as I said, the bonus funds that were provided by the General Assembly, some lottery funds, and some local funds.
Do I have a motion?
Move we.
Do I have
Second.
a motion and a second. Any discussion? Questions? Hearing none, Ms. Austin?
Yes.
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 Yes. And I'll just note, I was surprised at our number of employees. I knew we hovered around 400. I was thinking it was just shy of that, but, for what, 457 is what we're paying in bonuses?
Right, and there is a lot, keep in mind, we added several positions through ESSER that were ESSER funded. That'll be a discussion for a later meeting about how we work with those positions in the future. But we did have about 30 some odd positions that were funded through ESSER. You're right, we normally hover right around 400.
Let's see. Well, I've lost my spot. All right, item 5B, approval of 2022-2023 school board budget revision number 3.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Jones needed to be with her family tonight, so I can provide an update. There are some changes to some grant changes, a $20,000 change due to K through 3 class size reduction funds, and that is the bulk of the changes for the budget revision number 3.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget revision number 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I have one question. So the classroom reduction, did we not meet the number?
We were over by one student in one classroom, which caused a $20,000 reduction in those funds.
Okay, all right. Ms. Austin? Oh,
No, I was just going to say that when we go to the new intermediate primary model, that'll really help because we can balance out those class sizes and without having that. Yeah,
our money.
yeah. So we could have hired a new teacher to reduce those class sizes, but obviously that would have cost us more than the $20,000 we lost in that out of that fund.
Yes.
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 Yes. I keep losing my spot. Here we go. All right, item 6, discussion presentations. Item 6A, discussion of international baccalaureate.
Mr. Ritchie.
Tonight I'm going to be speaking about the primary years program, which is the elementary program, the IB elementary program. And there is about a minute and a half of this video I'd like to show. It will do a better job of making that introduction. And then I would just like to add a few comments. So I want to highlight some of the facets of the IB primary years program. It is open to all students, so it is a school-wide initiative, so every student would be participating in the IB program. It can begin at the age of 3 up to the age of 12. So if we pursue that route, we might choose the intermediate school or the lower, we would be open to go whatever direction we want to. And all of the teachers who would be involved in that school, they would all be trained IB, which is a difference than if we were going with the middle years program or the high school diploma program, those teachers who are specifically involved in the courses would be trained, but all elementary teachers would be trained. And the primary years program curriculum framework begins with the premise that students are agents of their own learning and partners in the learning process. All subjects are involved in the IB, and teachers teach through transdisciplinary units. So there might be a specific unit, and then all the teachers come together with their subjects to be able to create a robust unit around that specific topic. Fifth graders, if the program was available through fifth graders do an exhibition of some project that they take on, and they present that to the community in some way. I had the opportunity to talk to the IB coach at Buckland Mills Elementary. It's in Prince William School District, and she had a wealth of information. And she talked about their program has been going on for several years, and we talked about some similarities that we have to them and obviously some differences. And, the training piece potentially would not be as much at the elementary level as middle school and high school. She said the way that she would recommend doing the training if we went that direction was to bring an IB trainer in and train all of the teachers at one time instead of sending teachers one by one to a conference away from here, which is very costly. And as she serves as the IB coach, training is continually going on because she is housed at the school where she is serving. So I do believe that there would be a need to hire, especially at the elementary level, a need to hire an IB coach similar to a reading specialist, reading coach, or a math coach. I think that would be very important. One area of concern that we talked about was that the PYP program, it is discouraged that teachers teach departmentally. And, really all of our teachers from third grade through fifth grade, all of them teach departmentally. So, a teacher who teaches math, for example, we kind of label them as a math expert because they've been doing that for several years. Or an English teacher, they've been doing that for several years. And even down in second grade, most of our schools, maybe apart from Stonewall Jackson, most of them are departmental as well. So that would be a big change in our approach in the elementary level, and we definitely would have to spend a lot of time working with teachers, and that would be something that we would have to consider. And she talked about when they were beginning the program that it was really a major overhaul, first of all in the approach to teaching, but also in the content. It would require, right now we follow the comprehensive instructional program, the CIP, which we are a part of, that all of our pacing guides match that because we take their benchmark tests, and it's important if we're using those benchmark tests that we're following their pacing guides. And there would be a ton of work because if we're working on transdisciplinary units, then all of the teachers would have to come together. There would be a ton of planning that would go in place, and then the development of the pacing guides, because you certainly can't throw out the SOLs. You still have the requirement of the SOLs, and moving forward with the approach that is taken in IB. And of course, IB is not exclusive. It can be done where you would be teaching SOLs and the IB curriculum. So those are some of the things that I found out. I did find out this afternoon that there are 14 elementary programs, IB programs in the state of Virginia. Most of those, I think the closest one was Richmond, Williamsburg, and there are certainly many more the closer to Washington, D.C. But I'm happy to answer any questions about the primary years program.
This program was what location? You said Buckhold? Or,
This was in Prince William School District.
oh, okay,
The name of the school was Buckland Mills Elementary.
gotcha. And how many students were involved in that, or do you know? Or
I did
was
not-
it school-wide?
It was school-wide,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
So if I can just go for a minute, we were talking a little bit at the gifted meeting about this, the gifted committee meeting, and I think it was Miss Stacy that had the idea of that we could roll this out with our new elementary and intermediate schools and kind of brand it as a school of innovation in Bristol. And I was talking about part of the reason I'm so interested in this program for our students is because we don't have opportunities for our kids like magnet high schools for specialty areas down here, and we're not big enough for that, but we could offer, some different opportunities. And I know that a huge concern for all of us is the sustainability of this. We don't want to pour a bunch of money into something that's not going to be successful. And I think this might be a really good opportunity to start with the primary years program, try and build that up, move to the middle years program, and ideally, and I wish it was sooner, but maybe in 10 to 15 years, we have a thriving, high school diploma program, and it's something that kids have grown up with in the school system, and that's something that they want to be engaged in. And the time that you're saying that it would take, I think might work well with, the construction of the new school. We've got a couple years. We could sort of roll those out at the same time. So I think this sounds like a really exciting opportunity, really good maybe way that we could pursue moving forward with this.
In the hierarchy of curricula, where do you rate this?
I have concerns about it in that we have to make sure that students are getting the standards to be successful on the SOLs, and in those early years that they are reading on grade level and they are ready to move forward. I do share the opinion that a constructivist approach to teaching is a great way to teach. And I think kids are excited about being able to explore and ask questions. I've gone through some training. I was telling Dr. Perigin about training I went through several years ago as principal of the middle school, and it was approached to teaching in that way at the middle school level. And I think it's a great way to teach, but it also becomes very broad, and teachers have to be very careful to make sure that they're covering the standards. If they, if we open that up and go in that direction, we just have to be laser focused that we're making sure we're not allowing kids to fall through the cracks because it becomes broader.
Gary and I were talking about today, currently we're teaching a standards-based curriculum, and what we would switch to is more of an inquiry, student-driven curriculum. I think the whole idea behind this is that the students' interest is what drives what the teacher teaches, and how you marry that together with the requirements of the state for, standards of learning and accreditation. I think that would, there's a lot of benefits to it, because that's the kind of things that you're doing in this IB program is the kind of things that we do every single day in our jobs. We don't fill in multiple choice tests in our jobs, and when we solve problems and we do things that we like doing and we learn about things that we like learning about, the problem is we're still held accountable to the standards that are required by the Commonwealth of Virginia. So marrying those two things will be the challenge with that program. But I think it's also, it's really what we ought to be about, is teaching kids how to think and not what to think.
Yes.
The state's not getting a very good report card anyway.
Well, and it's probably, quite frankly, not as scary to think about doing that in science or the social sciences, but it's scarier to think about that approach possibly with reading and math. I just share that as an opinion, but.
So, well, I've been a proponent of IB in the high school, and I had 3 children participate in it. 2 of them got the full diploma written in English, Spanish, and French. And the late dean of admissions up at University of Virginia said that the IB was the most rigorous curricula in any high school, public or private. If we can do something like that for our children here in Bristol, I think we ought to pursue it. And granted, you're turning everything upside down, but we're going into a brand new facility at Highland View, and it's like we have a big truck up there. We need to put a big engine in it, and that's curriculum.
And I would just advise, it is a totally different approach, and I would hope that we would bring teachers into the discussion of that. I mean, I can just think right off the bat, for example, our reading and our math specialists, who are incredibly important to the work that we do in elementary. It would almost double their workload, because if the English teachers suddenly become teaching all core areas, then that reading coach is working with twice as many teachers. The math coach is working with twice as many teachers. I mean, things like that we might not think about, really, I mean, it's a big deal. And helping teachers to think through that, I mean, we would need to prepare that well.
Why don't we see if we can get a teacher from each of the elementary schools, maybe a couple of principals, and do a visit to one of these IB elementary schools, get an idea of what it looks like truly on a daily basis.
I want to go too. Can I go too?
And a school board member.
Well,
thinking
we
about
did that when we put IB in the high school 20 years ago. The whole board went to Covington, Kentucky, and checked out that school, and the stuff they were studying was, I had no idea that India and Pakistan had been fighting for years. I found out in a high school course up there, and it's a full, broad view of education, and our children deserve that. And I'd hope that we can get the consensus on the board to do such a thing.
Okay, so the driving factor of anything is finances with the school system. And I like the idea of Ms. Hubbard, introducing it with the school. I mean, we haven't had a gifted program in a number of years, and I think we need to get our gifted program going, because those are the students that's going to feed into this IB program. I think we need to start at the ground and not start at the top at the high school. We need to start with the babes and teach them growing up what IB is about, and a new way of thinking, and think on your own instead of being taught how to think. And and particularly after we were up there with the presentation to the secretaries of the Commonwealth, we have to keep that going. And whatever it takes for us to do, I know a lot of those are funded through ESSER funds. We've got to keep that going. That's the best thing we have going now, and that's preparing those students. While a number of those students probably aren't going to ever get an IB certificate, but they are going to be citizens in our community, and they deserve every opportunity that we give them up there under that one umbrella to be functioning citizens of our community, tax-paying citizens, working citizens, moms, dads. That's what they deserve. And personally, that's my focus. I mean, that's what we need to focus on. I mean, it would be, I would love if money wasn't an obstacle for us to, jump all in with everything. But we got to pick and choose what we do. And it would be, IB is great. It's great to say, hey, we had this, and we're the only ones that do it. But I don't want to do something because we're saying, we've got 6 kids that did IB got an IB certificate. You know, I want to start from the ground up and have, you know, half a class
Yeah.
with an IB certificate.
yeah.
That's what I'd like to see. So those are my 2 cents worth. Any other comment?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Item 6B, all pro dads.
Mr. Matlock.
Yes, please. Okay, at Virginia Middle School, we're going to be starting a new program that's going to be starting in January, and it's called All Pro Dad. And I first became aware of All Pro Dad. I went to an event in the spring of 2020 at Clemson University with my kids that I saw online, mainly because they let you run around on the football field. And that's why I went, because my kids were looking forward to that. So as I went, I learned some more information about All Pro Dad and learned that they have school chapters and things that you can apply for. So we have a chapter, and what is an All Pro Dad chapter? And it's a monthly gathering at school where dads, parents is called All Pro Dad, but it's really for all parents, or mentors in the community to engage in meaningful conversations and activities centered around a character-based curriculum. All Pro Dad is a national organization with school chapters located all across the country. There's look today, there's 1,223 chapters in 44 states. The closest place to us that has an All Pro Dad chapter is Fairmount Elementary School, right across the state line. As I said, our All Pro Dad chapter will start meeting in January. It's really great because it's a curriculum that's created really in the age of distractions that we live in as parents, as educators. We're just trying to create a intentional environment for connection, and that I think a lot of our students so desperately need. Also, from parents, but also from community members, guardians, mentors. So if anybody's interested or would like to participate or potentially be a mentor, you can see me and let me know, and we'll figure out how to get you plugged in. They've been shown to have a positive impact on youth and the adults that participate. And in my opinion, we can't create enough opportunities for that intentional connection to breathe life into our kids and let them know how it is that we want them to be. So we're excited about it and looking forward to starting in January. So again, if you're interested in becoming a volunteer or a potential mentor, please reach out to me and let me know. Okay?
Thank you. So you don't necessarily have to have a child in the middle school or
You do not.
to be
You do not.
active in?
We will send out the invitations and things, and they're all kind of prepackaged by All Pro Dad. And once we set the dates of the meetings, we'll have a website that will list all the dates, and it will also have the questions in the curriculum and things that will be covered in that coming month's meeting. I know board members in the past have participated with reading buddies, and some of the feedback that I get is, you build a strong relationship with them in elementary school, and then sometimes they come to middle school, and we kind of lack that mode for continuing that relationship. And so this might be a good opportunity if you do have a previous relationship with a student from elementary school and would like to continue that in middle school. This would be a perfect opportunity to do so.
So what would a monthly meeting look like?
So it would last for about 45 minutes. It would be before school, and we would have breakfast. I've reached out to some local organizations about sponsoring breakfast for us, and you would come with your student, whether it be your child or a student that you would like to mentor, and we would go through the curriculum.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, Jason. Sounds like a good program.
Thank you.
All right. Item 6C, discussion and review of comprehensive plan.
Mr. Chairman, so by code and by policy, we are supposed to review our comprehensive plan at different increments. We're doing that tonight. I will tell you, I can go through all the different objectives that we set in our comprehensive plan when we first did this about 5 years ago. However, I've just included the objectives as an attachment. I'll tell you that in most, we've met our objective. In many, we have exceeded our objectives. In a couple, we still have some work to do. Rather than, oftentimes we just like to brag and talk about all the good things we're doing, but I will tell you a couple of items that we still need to continue to work on. Number one, I think it's no surprise to anybody that chronic absenteeism is still a huge concern, not only in our division, but across the entire Commonwealth and even the nation. And so even though we set some lofty goals for there, we've not quite met those yet, but we'll continue to work to improve student attendance. And the other opportunity or objective that we had suggested was to build a partnership with Bristol, Tennessee City Schools to share our CTE resources. So we offer some classes that they don't have, and they offer some classes that we don't have, and we're close enough that we should be able to partner. But it's in the time that we've developed these goals, and today Bristol, Tennessee has had a couple of leadership changes, and they've added some programs, we've added some programs, but I have talked to Dr. Tudor, and she's at least willing to continue that conversation about how we can share those resources. But we haven't met that objective yet, but we'll continue to work on that. I'll tell you that next year it's time for us to completely review and revise the comprehensive plan. A lot of this, I'm sure, will continue to be part of that, but we may have some new objectives that we add. And so very shortly after this meeting, actually in early spring, we'll start putting some committees together to review and revise and come up with a new comprehensive plan that will be brought to you guys in November of next year for your approval.
I had been curious about the CTE program because we were kind of hot on that for a while, and then, like you say, some administration changes.
What do the different colors of the check marks mean?
I told Gary, I said, just tell me, I'm really bad with colors. So the green means that we have met or exceeded. The red means that we have not met it. What else did we have up there, Gary?
Yellow.
Yellow is caution.
Yeah, showing progress, and then the green means that we've exceeded it. I was telling Gary that my first presentation as Superintendent Norton, I was talking about these red bar graphs and green bar graphs, and everybody's looking at me like I had 12 eyes, and I'd messed up on all the colors. So we need to use something besides colors, different symbols or something.
Any other question or comment? All right. Item 6D, discussion of budget priorities for fiscal year 2024.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, it's like the budget cycle never ends. It's time to start talking about our priorities for next year's budgets. The board has directed us in the past to use the goals that our school board sets at our annual retreat, to use those goals to kind of guide the budget process, and so that's what we've done. I have some budget priority suggestions for next year. Obviously, as we go to the December meeting, if the board would like to add additional priorities to that, we can. I'll very briefly go through those. Set aside funds to continue renovation at the existing Van Pelt. We had started on that. Our plan for this upcoming summer is to add 2 additional classroom spaces there just by adding a couple of walls at Van Pelt. So we'll set those funds aside. We also, as you know, have hired a work-based coordinator to help with the Bearcat Bridge program. We've used some grant funding to fund that now, but to look at next year's budget to make sure that we can continue to keep that program going. Also, we've used ESSER funds for our emerging technology specialists, which have been a great benefit to all of our schools and to our teachers and students. And so that will be another budget goal that we have. We also want to make sure that each school has the needs that they need. Every school has different needs, and we've developed a rubric that we fund schools based on student population, but also on the amount of poverty that they have. So we'll continue to do that. And Mr. Alphas, you hit the nail on the head earlier. We do need to work on improving our gifted and talented program. And so one of the things we'd like to consider is paying a stipend at each school to have a gifted coordinator to make sure that we don't just have a division-wide gifted program, but we have the person and the resources in each school to make that happen. We also want to continue to address chronic absenteeism. And then this is, I've said this once tonight and I'll say it again, and we said this when we first hired these folks. We knew that these ESSER funds were going to be temporary. We were very early in using our funds because we opened school early. A lot of schools will have some funds left over for next year, but most of our funds are going to be depleted by the end of this year, and that's simply because we opened school before other places did. And so we have about 30 positions currently that our leadership team is looking at and trying to prioritize. I met with BVEA earlier this week and told them to also provide input because, these positions, it's easy for me to look at it and say check, 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 but these positions are actually helping teachers in the schools, so we want to get some teacher feedback as well. But that's going to be some big decisions that we have to make in the coming months because we really need to start talking to folks in these positions, let them know if we plan to continue their employment or if they, maybe that we need to cut those positions. And then obviously I think our board always wants to prioritize our compensation and our benefit package. We do plan to give, in addition to the 10% raise that we gave this year, our plan is to give a 5% raise on top of that next year. And even though we're already leading the region in our employee compensation package, that will really set us apart as we move forward. And so those are the goals that we've come up with currently that align with our school board goals. If the board would like to make other suggestions as we go into the budget development process, happy to hear those.
They're all, I think they're all right on key. I go back to the providing resources to respond to the whole student. I just, Representative Quinn, he was up there at Van Pelt for that presentation, and along with the secretaries, and I just would like for our folks to get in front of whatever subcommittee it is for budgeting, that we could get some help from the Commonwealth in the state budget, not only for our school system, but for all school systems to address the mental health and behavioral health supports that each school system needs. And I don't know how we make that. Well, you know how to make that happen. I don't.
We have actually started those conversations. Secretary Littell, who is Health and Human Resources Secretary, was very impressed with what he saw at Van Pelt. I was part of a panel discussion later on. I don't remember if it's that day or the next day at Highlands Community Services, where he reiterated the great things that he saw at Van Pelt and expressed his support for trying to find ways to continue that. He also shared with everybody in that room that he was going to advocate for mental health resources to be added to the budget from an educational standpoint. Obviously, Senator Pillion and Delegate O'Quinn will work alongside us with that. And Delegate Wampler called me about another issue today and then asked, segued, is there anything else we can do for you? And I used that as an opportunity to talk about that too. So at every opportunity that we have, we'll talk to those folks. It is our coalition of small and rural schools meets in November to set our legislative priorities, and one of the recommendations for that is to focus on mental health supports as well. So we're going to try to hit that at every turn.
And when Dr. Perigin was at that Thursday afternoon, when you weren't at the summit, the Secretary of Labor and one of the Deputy Secretaries of Education were also singing the praises of Van Pelt's program in front of, a room full of 200 people. So they were also very impressed as well.
Well, I signed up to go to the legislative conference in January. And I've been before and never had a drive for an issue, but I do this time around. So those folks need to know, not only us, but all across the Commonwealth. And we've been leaders in the Commonwealth for things that we do. And this is no different. I mean, if other schools can model what's going on, that's awesome. And funding on top of it is even better. So I think that's an issue we can all fight for.
Yes, sir.
All right. I guess that takes us to closed session. You want to read us in, Mr. Fletcher?
Pursuant to Section 2.23711A1 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following matters: discussion of certain personnel, recommendation for employment, and resignations.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Austin?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
All right, that takes us to closed session. Thanks for everyone coming out tonight. And board or school board reps, thank you all.
Bristol, Virginia School Board certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, and only such public matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were considered.
Have a second?
Second. Sorry, yes, sorry.
Ms. Austin?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do we have a motion to approve attachment A?
I move we approve attachment A.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Austin?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any old or new business? All right. Meeting adjourned.